unprecedented blackout has occurred in San Diego County and Southern California. And I say, not inaccurately, unprecedented.
1.4 million customers without power from SDG&E.
And you heard the spokesman for SDG&E saying at that live news conference here a few minutes ago that it could be into tomorrow before some of the power is restored. Now, if you've just joined us, here is the story. Apparently, two major lines were interrupted. He used the word severed, Madonna, and he was careful to say he does not know if that means physically severed or the power was just interrupted.
Right.
And but the line coming into San Diego County from Arizona was severed, as he put it.
Was the first one to go down. That was the first incident that we had, and apparently, I guess the one coming down from the north was overwhelmed by the power outage from the one coming to the east, and that's why we're having this incident. He says they're trying to get San Onofre online to our system, but our system has just been overwhelmed by too many outages in too many places. They've got some power plants in Escondido and in Otay. They're going to try to get those online. They might be able to get power in those immediate areas back up, but this is going to be a really long process.
That's right, and you know, we have been reporting, some of our listeners were calling this afternoon, shortly after this happened, even over the last hour and a half, that they were seeing that some lights were still on, traffic lights were on, and I got a email from one of our listeners here a little bit ago during the SDG&E news conference who said that the reason some of the traffic signals are still working and some of these lights are still on is because some of them have battery backup power. A lot of these traffic lights, major intersections have battery backup power, so that's why they could continue operating, and some may indeed still be operating. But we're getting reports now that universities and colleges, as well as businesses, shopping malls, and retail centers are also closed because they simply cannot operate. Not surprising.
I got another email from Jack in Tijuana that he just got off the phone. Rosarito, Tecate, and Sonata is also offline. There is no power there. He said most of the shops have just shut down, all kinds of police on the streets. He said he asked the officer what was going on. The officer said, I don't know, go home.
We also got a report from one emailer he says he's in the military, and he said that they received word that military personnel had been ordered to return to the bases here in San Diego when this, shortly after this happened. And again, you heard, if you just did hear that news conference by the spokesman for SDG&E, he was asked the question several times as to whether or not there was any evidence or indication at this point whether this is an act of terrorism or just some sort of criminal act of some kind. And he is not able to say they have any evidence like that. There's no indication at all that it's terrorism. But needless to say, with the 9/11 anniversary on Sunday, people are a little sensitive about that.
A little bit sensitive, and again, I think unprecedented is the word you used earlier, and that certainly does apply. When we're talking about 1.4 million people without power in Southern California, that is not something that you're going to hear of every day. And it certainly gives people pause. It makes people worried for their neighbors, worried in case that, you know, are they going to be able to feed themselves? Are they going to be able to get out and get things done? If they need to get to a hospital, can they get there?
Just got an important email information from Brandy, who's a nurse with Sharp Memorial Hospital, and she asked us to pass this along. She said that please tell people out there that if they're using any type of oxygen tank, they need to get somewhere cool because the tanks can actually blow up. So she's suggesting that if you are on oxygen and you use an oxygen tank, make sure that you're not in an area that gets too warm. One with the air conditioners now all off because of the blackout. She suggests going to police or fire stations or any emergency service hospital so that you can make sure that you're in a safe place if indeed you are on oxygen. Something to think about if you're in that situation.
I did get an email from Rick, and he said that he had seen that planes were taking off slowly from Lindbergh Field. He said one of them was a Southwest plane. I myself have a whole bunch of family coming in from out of town because of my wedding that we now can't even cook for.
Yes, well, you know,
tomorrow's going to be an interesting day for me.
Your wedding's going to be historic in many ways, it looks like.
Probably dark. Very, very dark.
Let's go to Cal Walker. The traffic center is speaking of operations at the Lindbergh Field and all over the county. Cal, what's the latest?
One of the concerns of Lindbergh right now is security. We're getting word that the security system is down. The scanners and various procedures that use the power are not apparently on the emergency grid. And so there's a problem, obviously, at Lindbergh, although there are flights landing and taking off. I think over the next while that will probably slow down significantly as they start to hold planes throughout the country. In fact, they're headed to Southern California for the lack of facilities that are available here at Lindbergh Field. So definitely call ahead. Give yourself plenty of time because, as I don't need to tell you, in the car, it's a nightmare out there on the freeways, on the surface streets, and on ramps. The signal lights dark today. It's really made a big mess. The other concern was everybody leaving work at the same time. Suddenly, at 3:40, everybody packed up. Lights went out, air conditioning out in many of the buildings. Shopping centers, as you mentioned a moment ago, Mission Center down in Mission Valley, just one of many that have been shut down. So we've got this huge volume of people on the freeways and at intersections that would normally not get hit as hard at this time of the day. So please be very careful. It's hot. The temperatures are bringing out the temperers. I've heard of many incidents that include not so manly type of behavior out here today. And I'm also hearing, Cliff, that San Diego PD has held the day shift over, calling in all traffic control units. So PD and Highway Patrol and various agencies throughout the county are calling their personnel back to try and deal with the various issues. I know there have been reports of people trapped in elevators and tall buildings. I've seen pictures of the trolleys that stopped at 340 in San Diego, some of them on freeway overpasses, and they're trying to work to get passengers out of those trolleys back down to safety, much like being stuck at Disneyland or what have you on a ride. So we're going to be hearing for days about stories of people here in San Diego that have been affected significantly with this power outage. One thing I do want to leave you with before we throw it back to Cliff is be patient and safe, and with the dark signals, treat them as four-way stops.
Very good advice, Cal Walker in the Cocoa Traffic Center. We'll go back to him in just about 10 minutes to get an update and what's happening out there. But obviously, what's happening is major congestion, as Cal's been talking about, with traffic lights out, except those that are battery-powered and have that as a backup. Traffic in many, many areas has been gridlocked since the power outage began shortly after 3:30 this afternoon. And I've just got a tweet from a listener who said, hey, just chill out until the power comes back on. And I guess
it's a little difficult to chill out when the air conditioning goes on.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, it couldn't have happened at the worst time. And needless to say, when, as you pointed out a little while ago, when it does get hot outside and we have these heat waves,